And we're live. Welcome to the God, I suck at this. Welcome to the Lakers Outsiders podcast. I still want to think that we're in the playoffs still. It'd be nice. My phone would have a little bit more battery. You'd think. But I'm joined tonight. We have a few extra guests here. It's been a crazy ass day in Lakerland. So we have Ben Rosales and Tom Fehr,
Fehr.
aka Batman.
God, it's Fehr. Got my name wrong.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
We're doing very well. Well, it's sort of crazy right now, which is why we're all here.
and then we're also joined as usual with or by Harrison and Gary. Gary, how are you holding up? You said your brain exploded. Have you been able to put the pieces back together yet?
No, I probably won't for a couple weeks. So.
Sounds good. So I guess we're gonna get right into this. The Boogie stuff, I would say, heated up a little bit. Is that fair? Would you say? That's the proper way to put it, Ben. I'm wary of the trade. We're gonna start, Ben. Why don't you make the case for why the Lakers have to do what they can to bring the guy in?
He's really good. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Good case. Next person.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I mean, if you break down his statistics any which way I mean, he's ridiculous. I mean, he's over 25 PER. I mean, he puts up he can put up 25 and 10 a game. I mean, there's no one really in the game that kind of is remotely close to him. I mean, he's basically the center version of Anthony Davis right now. He's not as good as Anthony Davis, but he's as close as you're humanly going to get. So I mean, and if this was Anthony Davis, I think we would have shoved everything we said we would have traded for Boogie already and said, please take it. Oh my God. But I mean, the argument here, yeah. So I mean, one, Boogie's good. Two, I mean, a lot of what we've discussed is kind of setting the stage for 2016. We really want that free agent. Big free agent to come in, obviously Durant, but it could be other people, to come in and kind of solidify whatever core we're building. And if you have Boogie, that's a much better way to kind of lure that guy in, assuming Boogie doesn't freak him out, because Boogie's insane. But aside from that, but there is the good argument. I mean, I was talking about it with CBS Sports' Sam Vecini earlier this evening, and he forced me to bring up the spreadsheet and break down the cap numbers. So if we do trade for Boogie, like the full second overall pick, Julius Randle and Clarkson, you'll have about $13.5 million in cap space left after that. After which case you could package Nick Young with, say, the 27th pick, and you would then have max space to chase someone, that elusive someone. So I mean, So say Kevin Love's willing to come, and boom, you have a front court of guys who are under. I forgot how old young Love is. He's about 26, I think. So you have guys who's 26, 24, and then that's the best case scenario. And then you move into 2016, and Durant wants to join because hey, there's this wonderful front court here, and then we can also add Westbrook and 2017, and it will be OKC except with better players and in LA. So that's the best case scenario, I think, for getting Cousins, since I don't think any offer short of Randall number 2 and Clarkson is at all kind of realistic. Of course, the Kings are crazy, Vivek is crazy. Who knows what Vlade's doing? So I mean, shit happens. I won't dismiss that possibility, but I mean, that's how I think stuff will roll down. If the trade does roll down, I don't think anything will happen, and we'll be very upset as we get a possible franchise center tomorrow. But
Ben, just to sort of jump in here, since I think you're probably the one that's most in favor of this trade out of us 5, what is the most you would be willing to give up? Like, if push came to shove, would you give up Cousins and Randall?
I'd give up Clarkson.
Sorry, number 2 and Randall.
I'd give up Clarkson and number 2. I think we discussed this briefly. I'm still very high on Randall. I really like him as a prospect. I mean, I think the best case scenario I described you're still buying in a lot to the kind of Lakers mystique, which I mean,
right.
Which weirdly enough, a lot of people have kind of mocked the Lakers for as of late, and instead they're putting it as a kind of argument for why they think someone will come this offseason if we have max space because Boogie's here. So I mean, hey, we just got the rumor that LaMarcus is willing to come. So hey, maybe LaMarcus sees that Boogie's there and he wants to come immediately. So who knows? But I mean, you are putting kind of all your eggs into one basket that you will sign a max guy this offseason if you get Boogie. So I mean, that's the rough part of it.
So Tom, what has you the most weary? For me, the thing that has me the most weary is I'm giving up, or the Lakers are giving up, a franchise big man potentially for that they could control for 6 or 7 years for somebody who could bolt in three.
Right. I mean, not even just that. Like, say he doesn't bolt, and say you have Cousins for the remainder of his prime, which would be a big deal, and that's a big asset. But my worry is if you do that, there's basically, and let's say it's the deal that we fear it is, and it's Clarkson, Randall, and the number 2 pick. There's nothing left in that cupboard, and that would basically be saying we are going to bet it all on some max guys coming when they're probably not going to come. I feel like we would just basically be doomed to be what the Kings were the last 5 years, and I don't think you would be able to. I don't think you're able to rebuild it. I don't think they're top tier guys that are going to want to come to a team with DeMarcus Cousins and nobody else. I feel like you'd be screwed that way. Whereas I feel like if you stay on the current path of having Randall and Clarkson and maybe Okafor or Russell, whichever one, let's say Okafor, I feel like that way you can develop the young talent, you can try and go after big free agents, and that way if they inevitably don't come, which I think is probably the most likely scenario, maybe we get a good B-list guy, you're not totally screwed.
Gary, what do you say to fans? So earlier today, from the Lakers Outsiders account, I tweeted out that Laker fans are catching a lot of shade for being hesitant to make this deal. I mean, they've worked really hard and things have gone really well to make it to get to the point where they now have a foundation of young players who would even entice the Kings to talk about trading away the best player they've had in 15 years. So I don't know. I thought it was ridiculous that people think Lakers fans are ridiculous for not wanting to move everybody.
Yeah, I mean, to me the thing is, like, the way the Lakers' future pick situation is, it's not good, to say the least. And you'd literally be giving up every one of your major assets to get one player. Which, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, 24-year-old all-star player. That's great, but you're putting all your eggs in the free agency basket, assuming that DeMarcus Cousins is enough to bring guys on board, which it might be. But I just don't think it's worth giving up literally every asset that you have. It's a huge gamble, and if it doesn't work, you could find yourself just in a terrible, terrible situation. And I mean, if you say you keep the pick, you just go the safe route. You take Okafor, you have Randall, you have Clarkson. Kobe's contract comes off the books after this summer or whatever. Or say you can get just a decent free agent this year, a guy that's under 26 or so. Then you can sell 4 players to free agents next year as opposed to just one guy.
Right. So Harrison, I think you haven't really been able to join in the conversation yet, but is it fair of me to call Cousins to even a certain extent a looter and a riot?
But then how do you kind of explain how much you're valuing Clarkson?
What? Oh, I see what you mean. That's fair.
I mean, Cousins by any measure has been a lot more productive, and a lot of people are saying that we can't give up Clarkson in addition to the number 2 pick or in addition to Randall or things like that. Although I think people have come around a little bit more on moving Clarkson in addition to one of those assets. The argument is you don't want to move the number 2 pick and Randall. I think it's what most of you are saying, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm standing. Clarkson was almost a definition. He was efficient in that role, but it doesn't get much more clear than that.
Because I've looked into it a bit more over the last week since this kind of came up and tried to evaluate where I stand on all of this, and I think that I would give up the number 2 pick in Clarkson or Randall and Clarkson, but I don't think that I would give up Randall and the number 2 pick.
Okay, and and maybe you guys can call me crazy, like Ben Sara did earlier on Twitter. I'm just not even sure I would part with the number 2 pick. Not that I'm saying that. Not. I know. Hold on, yeah, man. Not that I don't think the number 2 pick is more valuable than DeMarcus Cousins, who would be 25 years old and going into 3 years on a contract. I don't think it's more valuable to the Lakers right now. Just not that. That's not the. I just feel like you would have so much flexibility starting, say, Jahlil Okafor on a rookie contract than having 3 years, maybe more, but we don't know, of DeMarcus Cousins, and that that taking up $16 million or whatever. That's not a huge deal, but I'm just saying the Lakers are not at a spot where they're going to win anytime soon. And I just feel like the sooner we all just admit that and embrace that, we can start developing the young talent and get to a spot where then maybe somewhere down the line we can look and say, okay, now is the time where we need to trade for this guy, whether it be Cousins or someone else down the line that we don't even know is awesome yet. I feel like it's not the time to make a big trade trying to trade for someone in their prime. I just don't feel like it's the right time for the Lakers.
Well, I mean, the main issue I see there is that by getting Cousins out, let's presume that it is number 2 just for Cousins straight up. No other assets involved.
Right. And let me be clear. I wouldn't be outraged at that trade. I'm just not sure it's as much of a no-brainer as a lot of people think it is.
Right. I mean, the number 2. I mean, if you go by salary, you go by length of time, we're practically guaranteed to have him because of how rookie contracts are structured. That's valuable. I mean, it's part of the reason that the picks that high are valuable in the first place. But I mean, part of what we said before, I mean, about getting Boogie and then getting the kind of foundation to bring guys in. I mean, we're kind of accelerating the timeline you mentioned of being in the position to kind of get these big guys. So, I mean, by getting Boogie, you immediately put yourself in that position. And since you still have Clarkson, you still have Randall. We wouldn't, but this is for the sake of discussion. And also, I mean, you could also move Young even this offseason and have a fair chance at a guy like Aldridge, Dragic, what have you, and then you'd be in an even better position for 2016. So I mean, I don't really I get where you're coming from, just the long-term value, because it is a really valuable thing. I mean, it's part of the reason that, for instance, like Anthony Davis is the most valuable asset in all of basketball right now because he's still on that rookie contract. But I think Okafor is going to be really good. I think Russell's going to be really good. Whoever we pick there will be very good. But in the context of what we need now, because it will act as a free agent where this offseason and next, which are both kind of pretty important for the context of the rebuild, I think you definitely do that. Of course, yeah, and again, for those watching and for us here, I mean, this is just the pie in the sky scenario where it's just number 2 for Cousins.
Now, Ben, you and I had a back and forth. I was kind of hung up on the math here, where
shocker.
I know, English major, terrible at math. Oh my God!
I'm a history major. I'm in law school. I don't know about that.
So, but what I was hung up on, and this is where I kind of think having Okafor on such a cheap contract, there's going to be moving forward about a $11 million difference between Okafor and Cousins. If you're just talking about those 2 players. All max contracts are based on a percentage of the cap. So I'm not sure. I don't know how we can just jump and say the Lakers will have room for another max contract when the amount of that max contract is going to continue to increase as the cap does.
Okay, so let's. I think it's easy to split this down by offseason. So if you presume we trade for Cousins this offseason, how you clear max space is that you have to move Young. That's the only way to do it. So whether you have to pair him with the 27th pick or what have you. So this offseason it's a lot harder. Next offseason we have max space no matter what we do because 1, the cap goes up, and 2, Kobe's contract expires. So that's $40 million in space in some fashion. I mean, we might even have space for 2 max guys. I haven't really run the numbers on that yet. Going past that, so assume we use all our 2016 space, then the cap goes up, I think, about 15 or 20 million. So you're right, in a vacuum, we don't have enough space because then the max contract's like 30 million starts for Westbrook. But there, what we can do is that because of the stretch provision, you have a lot more freedom in terms of how you free up your space. You're able to kind of send guys out that way. And also, if I recall correctly, we will have our 2017 pick, assuming we don't win the lottery next year and get our pick again, which that would be insane. But so oh, you wouldn't be able to use that because of the stepping rule. Okay, maybe you get another pickup. So my point is you could burn assets to move guys around, or it wouldn't be that difficult to create the necessary space to get someone like Westbrook. And perhaps when you're dealing with numbers that are already that high, Westbrook doesn't care if his starting salary is at 26 million instead of 29 million. So I mean, he might lose over the course of the contract, but if he's going to a stacked team, who cares? But so that's how it would work out in general. I mean, it's hard to kind of project now since we don't know the shape of the roster, but we should go this off season, the next, and the one after that. We should have at least one max slot, and in next 2016 we might even have two, depending on how things work out.
Makes sense. So Ben, so if you had 30 seconds to make one overriding argument to all those who are not in favor, and I'm still kind of in that camp, I would say, why, aside from Boogie's numbers, aside from the pie in the sky potential, if you had 30 seconds and you had to sell everybody. You're in law school, so you had to make your closing argument. How would that go about? Like, what's
I'm not going to be a litigator. But without the pie in the sky and without Cousins' numbers.
So, what was the question? What is he trying to make the argument for?
No, I would say you could take into account, like, it's hard for me to take into account the pie in the sky aspect of it, but I would say, like, is Boogie's just overwhelming talent the number one reason to make this play? You're betting that nobody the Lakers could possibly draft winds up as good as Cousins, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Okafor's ceiling is what Cousins is now. I mean, I mean, Okafor might develop some things different from Cousins, but how good Cousins is now is how good we think Okafor can be. I mean, Russell also might be really good, but I don't think he has I think he'll be good. I think he has issues creating at the next level unless he fixes a few things. I think Tom and I discussed this very briefly the other day. But bottom line, yeah, Cousins is better than anyone who's come out of the draft since Davis. I mean, he's really, really good right now. So I mean, that's the biggest thing. So we've kind of talked about having the star to lay the foundation, and Boogie's kind of as strong of a foundation as you could create throughout the league without getting Davis himself. So I mean, you have the years of control. We we'd be willing to pay to keep him. I mean, I'm gonna guess he's probably a guy who's gonna bring guys to LA. I don't know whether he's chummy with guys across the league, whether he's a head case that scares them off. But I'm just going to suppose that people want to play with other good players, and that's how it's going to work out. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm 100% sold on this either. I mean, as Tom said, I'm very hesitant at throwing kind of all our eggs into one basket and saying we're all going to bet this all on Boogie. And I mean, there are other ways this could work out. I mean, it's not to say that we couldn't get a max free agent this offseason and make this discussion look very different, since, I mean, that's partly what we're also hedging this Cousins discussion on.
Now, Gary, you had an interesting little message in our group DM to people who, it's funny how the same people who are so anti-team tank are now so pro-trading the pick, right? Do you see a correlation there?
Well, this is why, this is what we're rooting for, just having options, like, without this pick, the Lakers would have been in such a terrible spot. Like, you wouldn't, be in trade discussions for DeMarcus Cousins. You wouldn't be in a position to draft Jahlil Okafor, D'Angelo Russell. You'd basically have Randall, Clarkson, and you're just your cap space. So, I mean, this is exactly what we rooted for. Like, all of a sudden, the Lakers are, not to say they weren't relevant, but they're like they're back at like the forefront of the NBA. You know, the Warriors just won the championship like a week ago, and nobody's even talked about it really. So.
And let's just say how dramatically things have changed since, hell, even January of this year. Like, you go back to January, Randall was out with a broken leg, and, people, we still like him, but, your top 7 pick was out for the year. Kobe looks pretty much, for the most part, done. I mean, in terms of being a huge piece on a team. We didn't think we were not sure whether we were going to keep our pick, and if so, we were going to be happy with getting like number 5 and getting Willie Cauley-Stein. And I don't think a ton of people going into at least this calendar year expected that much of Jordan Clarkson. And now,
certainly not Byron Scott.
No, not Byron Scott, and not me because he's from Mizzou. But
Ouch.
But I just.
We're going to get
things have
DeMar
changed,
Carroll
and
this offseason. You're going to be miserable.
Say what?
We're going to get DeMar Carroll this offseason. You are going to be
No, I actually liked DeMar Carroll. DeMar Carroll was one of the
Okay.
guys I actually liked when he was at Mizzou.
I
But
like how you have to clarify there. Like, DeMarcus Carroll had like the playoffs of his life. No, he's okay.
no. I meant like, and no, most Mizzou players, especially back in the Big 12 days, I grew to hate. I never really hated DeMarcus Carroll. He was always a fun player in college. Completely different player in college than he is now, but he was always fun. But anyway, just how things have changed, and I'm sure this is part of the reason, and maybe I'm being a little bit crazy because of this in terms of my take, is that it's so exciting now that we have a young, cheap core that we're going to be able to build around. If we have Clarkson, Randall, and Okafor, and I just feel like this is the wrong time, and I think it's the wrong horse to bet on at this time. I feel like we would have killed for this chance to be able to go forward and build forward with 3 young pieces that we really, really, really like a lot.
Right, Harrison.
Right.
You've been kind of quiet, but
Hey, I'm a team player. I don't need that many touches.
you're just
What is behind Harrison, by the way? It looks like he's set up in some creepy ass murder people place where he just has a sheet hanging from the wall.
So I'll
He's
explain.
filming
it, but
season 8
Matt-
of Dexter.
Are you in a kill room right now?
That's how
Are you about to
Matt
set up
explained it in
pictures
our
of victims on the wall?
little group DM. No, it's I got a new computer, and so my webcam's in a different place than it was on my laptop, and my room's a mess. So rather than be like an adult and just clean it up, I'm just I got a backdrop, and I have that behind me.
Right. So rather than admitting that you have a messy room, you want us to all think you're a murderer.
I'm just convinced that
Better to be
Matt
like a
kind of-
murderous neat freak than like some slob, you know?
Is it neat? Is it being a neat freak? Because I mean that sheet's pretty wrinkled. I'm not gonna lie.
It's got creases. They're folded.
They're wrinkles.
They're properly folded. No, but
No,
Harrison.
you're welcome, everybody that's tuning in right now, that we're sitting here arguing about my backdrop. I'm sure that's what you wanted to watch. So you're welcome. Just bring you the most all the breaking backdrop news.
Honestly, it's a break from all the craziness that happened earlier today. That was pretty nuts. So, all right. So I guess the next little tidbit of news, unless you guys had anything else to add on the Boogie stuff, on the Boogie Fever. No. All right.
I guess
what?
just a question for everybody regarding it. We've seen like the rumors, the word of the off season, like the reported like 3-team deals, like with possibly like Denver and Orlando. Do you think what do you think the chances are that the Lakers can get like a 3rd or even a 4th team in to get Cousins to where they don't send out Randall or Clarkson, but they send out like just number 2 and maybe like some veteran contracts like they like Nick Young or
I think I mean it depends on it really depends on what George Karl wants, since it appears to be what he wants in this discussion rather than what anyone else in that organization wants. But I mean, a lot of what people were talking about was like, Lawson and Freed going to Sacramento, and apparently that's what Karl wants. He wants to break Nelson's win total on his own terms, whatever the hell that means. He's old and he probably doesn't care that much. But but yeah, I mean, that's probably how it would work out, but it just depends on what Sacramento values. I mean, they could see Lawson, Freed, and what have you as valuable, and the Lakers could send number 2 to Denver since they're starting to rebuild, and they build around They rebuild around number 2, Nurkic and what have you over there. Since they're trying to trade, I think there was a rumor that Danilo Gallinari was also on the trading block. So maybe he's in the discussions too. So maybe the Nuggets send the entirety of Carl's old Denver teams over to Sacramento. We give them the number 2 pick and we get Cousins. So I mean, maybe that's our pie in the sky scenario for not torching our team in the process.
I was gonna say I think that's like best case scenario if we do make a trade for Cousins. Like you have to get a third or fourth team involved to where assets are just being shifted all over the place.
I just don't know how many teams ever line up to help the Lakers, And also like if the Lakers somehow wind up with either Kevin Love as a free agent or with Boogie without giving up the house, Dan Gilbert writes another Comic Sans letter, right? Like that definitely happened.
He's probably got
to the finals.
Yeah,
he's probably got one prepped already. He's just waiting to hit.
All right,
I hope you guys are happy. I'm getting tweets supporting my backdrop now. So.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I always really wonder what goes on when Jeannie Buss shows up to the Board of Governors meetings and she has to talk to Gilbert.
Oh man. Oh, it can't be any less awkward than when Phil sucks in New York and she has to talk about how great a job he's doing. But all right, so I guess we'll move on to the next little tidbit of rumors or news. They all kind of get jumbled up together nowadays. But LaMarcus Aldridge, especially after that Nicholas Batum trade, is appearing likely to leave Portland. And the Lakers are reportedly climbing up the ladder. I mean, there's still the Spurs to overcome. Yeah, I just picture Mitch just grabbing some Laker emblem. But yeah, no, they're climbing the ladder, and they're reportedly seriously in play to grab the Portland big man. Harrison, we're gonna go to you and your crazy backdrop. What are the chances the Lakers wind up with a DeMarcus Cousins, LaMarcus Aldridge front court? And oh my God, I'm just seeing stars right now.
If you could guarantee that, then I'd be a lot more on board with trading, the big 3 assets. I think I just called Jordan Clarkson the number 2 pick and Julius Randle the big 3, but yeah, I mean, if you could guarantee that LaMarcus was going to sign with the Lakers, then I think that becomes a lot more appealing. Ben, I see you kind of furrowing your brow. You disagree?
Oh, what? No. Was I furrowing my brow? That was probably no. I actually agree with you totally.
Your brow is very furry.
What?
That was interesting. Anyways.
Yeah, so I'd be if LaMarcus, if you could guarantee, LaMarcus is about. I mean, neither him or DeMarcus Cousins have been standout defenders, but they've shown the capacity, I think, to be average to above average. And so if you could pair them, and then you have LaMarcus kind of spacing the floor with his mid-range jumpers for DeMarcus Cousins, that's about as perfect of a front court pairing as you can really hope for.
Ben, would you say that who's a better fit? Would you say Aldridge or Love? Both are free agents with DeMarcus Cousins. We're already taking for granted he's a Laker now, apparently.
What's the best
question.
fit for future Laker DeMarcus Cousins?
On the court or from a value perspective, or both?
On the court, I would say.
It's tough since we don't know how much of what Love did last year was kind of in Cleveland was kind of an aberration from what he previously did in Minnesota. I mean, if he's the guy for Minnesota, then that's hell of a front court. I mean, they're a little weak defensively since Boogie kind of blocks shots. He's not really a great rim protector. His main value, I think, is he's good in the post and he takes charges a lot. So maybe the defense is a bit weak, but I don't know how you stop that pair on offense, even with Byron calling the shots. So that'd be my preference. But I mean, LaMarcus works pretty well too. I mean, you put him in the high post, you put Boogie on the block, and you still get a lot of stuff done. I feel. I mean, LaMarcus is still really good, and especially I think even in a vacuum with our current team, I mean, LaMarcus works just fine because I think he, unlike Love, he can play a bit of center in certain lineups, and you can stagger the rotation so Randall and I'm presuming Okafor still get playing time. So pity to Tariq Black and Ryan Kelly, but that'd be a pretty good three-man front court to work off.
Boogie on the Block sounds like a fantastic '90s R&B hip hop.
Tom, that essentially becomes the current reincarnation of the old, the back-to-back title Lakers frontcourt, right? With Aldridge assuming Powell's role, Okafor assuming Bynum's, and Randall assuming Odom's, right?
Yeah, I mean, sort of, sure. I mean, there are some differences, but yeah, I can see that comparison. What are you doing, Ben?
Changing my...
He's getting comfy.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, it was kind of blocked out, that whole, everything you just said there, aside from Ben getting comfy.
Right, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the comparison sort of works. It would obviously be different, but maybe?
Okay.
What?
Gary, would you accept that as a front court of the future right there? Like, what would you say is a more enticing situation? Simply drafting Okafor and using cap space to grab Aldridge, potentially, maybe, or trading everybody to get DeMarcus Cousins, and then, hopefully trading Nick Young and grabbing Kevin Love?
I'd be more inclined to go with just drafting Okafor and then getting a guy like Aldridge, because kind of like how Ben said, like if you get a guy like Kevin Love, you really can't put him and Randall on the court at the same time, because they can't play the 3 and they're too small to play the 5. So, you face a pretty big dilemma there. But if you get a guy like Aldridge, even with like Okafor, the floor spacing is still going to be decent, and you can slide Aldridge over to the 5 at times and put Randall out there, and they're somewhat interchangeable, So, and that gives you just more options offensively, and I just think that would be more beneficial, just moving forward.
Right, Harrison, which front court would you go with?
So we're saying Cousins and Love, or Okafor and Aldridge? Are the choices?
For the sake of the exercise, sure.
That's tough. Probably Okafor and Aldridge.
Yeah, they have a lot of the same issues, I would say. I mean, I would say the spacing between Love and Cousins makes a little bit more sense than the spacing does with Aldridge and Okafor, I would say, just because Love can step out and hit that 3 in the corner at least. Though I know I heard a couple times last year Aldridge talking about potentially adding that to his game, stepping out and hitting the corner 3.
Well, he wouldn't be stepping out there under Byron, I'll tell you that.
Good point.
I mean, Aldridge stepping out for the 20-footer is still spacing. I mean, he shoots them so well, you still kind of have to defend him out there. He shoots, I think, over 50% from out there. So, I mean, it's not ideal spacing, but it's still spacing. I mean, if you put, I think we ran a bit of horns last year. If you put Aldridge and Okafor there, I mean, it works. I mean, it's still a form of spacing. I mean, especially assuming that the guys around them are crushing it, so we don't have, assume Clarkson doesn't improve his shooting, Clarkson, Kobe, who doesn't really space the floor, and what have you, Wing, who's hopefully not Wes Johnson, not spacing the floor elsewhere. So, I mean, it's not ideal, especially in the context of the modern NBA where you want your forward to shoot threes, but it's still spacing. And Aldridge is a bit of a old school kind of development there. But, yeah, I mean, I think he shot a few corner threes, if not last year, then at some point, though. So maybe he could add that in.
I mean, again, like Gary said earlier, I think the overriding point here is it's nice to have options. It's nice to look at, we're going into a draft tomorrow, and we're about to play a pretty fun game here in a second, but it's nice to go into the draft tomorrow and say, hey, the Lakers are going to be considerably better at the end of the day tomorrow.
Here, just a quick thing. This sort of surprised me. I just looked this up. Before this year, the most threes LaMarcus Aldridge had ever taken in a season was 28 in 2009. He took 15 last year, and this year he took 105.
Wow.
Big jump. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that happened. He shot 35% on them, by the way, which is way better than he had done before in his career. So I guess he really did work on it.
All right. Well, on that point,
Aldridge is now number one target.
And I mean, he does play pretty decent D. I mean, he's a pretty mobile guy. I mean, he feels a lot like Powell when we got him, just without the passing and without the post skills, traded for some more accuracy from range. But otherwise, he's big, he's mobile. I mean, I think his defensive numbers are just so against centers. But I mean, if you have a guy like that moves the floor, especially when you're pairing him with someone like Randall, it could probably work pretty well.
I'll tell you what, Anthony, before we get to the game, and this might be a crazy idea, maybe we should talk about the number 2 draft selection the Lakers have tomorrow night and who we want them to take.
Okay. All right. I'm going to play the D'Angelo Russell, Jaleel Okafor.
Yes. I have
God.
literally been going back and forth almost day to day on which one I want them to take. Like 2 days ago, I was like, okay, finally, you know what? Okafor is probably the smartest pick. And then yesterday, I just saw some crazy Russell stats, and I went back and watched more Russell film, and I was just like, oh my god, this guy is so fun. He's going to be awesome. And then today, I'm just like, oh man, but Okafor and Russ and Randall in the same front court, it's going to be so fun to watch. I can't even decide. So I was just curious what you guys' thoughts are. I assume most are leaning Okafor, but
Well, I mean, you brought the topic up. Which way are you leaning?
right now I'm leaning Okafor, but in 12 hours I might be leaning Russell. So if I had to make the pick at this very instant, I would select Okafor. But if you had asked me literally 24 hours ago, I would have said Russell. So I have no idea.
All right. I mean, that's cool with me. Ben, go ahead. We're taking for granted right now. Are we only going between the 2 prospects, or are we bringing in two?
If there's another one, then go ahead.
If you want to go Porzingis, that's all you.
Porzingis.
Oh God.
Porzingis MVP.
Oh God. But I mean, I'm pretty close to him. I like Okafor since I think a lot of his weaknesses get he fixes a lot of his weaknesses in the pros, and I think what he's good at, he's so overwhelmingly good at. I think that ends up ultimately translating, especially I think his and Randall's offensive games, assuming Randall's can end up shooting well, the rest of this all goes to crap, can work together really well. I mean, I see the arguments. I see kind of the nature of the current game argument for Russell. I would argue. I mean, the other night, Tom and I were arguing a bit about Russell's kind of supposed weaknesses. I mean, the guy doesn't really have an offhand. I think a lot of his. I looked up his isolation numbers. They were good. They weren't like crazy good. I mean, like Okafor's like post-up numbers are crazy good. They're like he gets like 1.1 points per possession for post-up, which is just
and back when we briefly had access to Synergy, I went like in depth on the Okafor. Yeah. I even wrote a piece about it for Silver Screen and Roll, which you can probably find if you search on the internet. Yeah. But it was so insane how well polished his game was. Like it was. Left block, he's over a point per possession. Right block, he's over a point per possession. Left block using his left shoulder. Left block using his right shoulder. Right block using every single thing he was so good at that it is ridiculous. I've never seen post-up numbers like that.
I mean, he was so good. I mean, first, he shot 76% at the rim, which is so good it broke Kevin Pelton's draft model.
I read that. That was funny.
Yeah, because his model literally could not process that. Or couldn't believe that someone could shoot that well, and he very well could shoot that well. I mean, if he shoots over 70% at the rim in the NBA, he's going to be an amazing player. And I mean, if you add in, and I think he'll be really good from the space-up game, and then we've talked about his defense ad nauseum. I think he moves his feet well. It's not to say that he doesn't have a lot of stuff to improve on that end, but I mean, so does Russell. I mean, Ohio State played zone entirely to hide Russell because Russell was terrible on defense, had very limited awareness on that end. So I mean,
Yeah, right.
I mean,
but to be fair, right now you need a better defensive center than you need a better point guard / two guard.
yeah,
But
yeah, that is true.
just going back to Okafor scoring, honestly, I would not be I'd be pretty surprised if he isn't really good right away. Like I wouldn't be shocked if he scored 19 points a game his rookie year, which is ridiculous,
Yeah.
but I think he can do it. And oh man.
Well,
So
it
yeah,
should-
right now I'm leaning Okafor, but
I mean, I'll say this: if it comes tomorrow and we've drafted Russell, I'll be fine with it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not like 70-30 guy. I'm pretty 60-40, 55-45 in that kind of area. So I mean, I get it. Anyone else is kind of what the hell, but I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. And of course, I think we can all agree if Flip goes insane tomorrow and picks Okafor, I think we'll all throw a party. But,
oh
yeah.
man.
I want Flip to pick Porzingis so bad.
yes.
Hey, have you guys seen? I tweeted this out the other day. There's a video of it's like a video with it's fake and it has I don't know who made it. It might have been Grantland again, since it was similar to the LeBron and the Dragon thing. But it was like Flip is DJing a party and like this dubstep is building up and building up and building up, and he's like about to push this button that says draft Towns, and everyone's just like going crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and then he goes boom and hits the button that says draft Porzingis, and then there's just like it shows Porzingis' face. It's like the most hilarious thing I've seen on the internet.
That's awesome.
Gary, which way are you leaning, Okafor or Russell?
Well, I'm kind of like Tom. I keep like flip-flopping a little bit. I would lean Okafor just because, I mean, the reasons I mentioned. He's so good. I've never since I've really started like watching prospects and like college basketball, I don't think I've ever seen a prospect that's so polished offensively, like as a big man. Like his post game was unreal, and as a North Carolina fan, I remember that move where they double teamed him. And he literally dribbled out of it and then attacked the basket and hit a reverse layup. It was like the most amazing thing I had seen out of a college basketball player. But he's just so gifted offensively. And I think I said this yesterday on the podcast. It's funny to me how he gets picked apart, like almost as if he's hit his ceiling, like he can't get any better. And like if you attack Russell's like defensive issues, it's like, oh, he's 19, he'll figure it out, But that doesn't apply to Okafor. That's something that's always kind of just baffled me. But I think Okafor, like his defensive issues, I don't think he's ever going to be a great defender, but I think he can be a solid defender, and I think that's all you kind of need when he brings so much offense to the table. So. And at the end of the day, you can't teach size. Like I know that it's a guard league now, but the league is always like changing. And with these big men, you're adding Okafor and Towns, and if Embiid ever gets healthy, like you're starting to stockpile good big men, and maybe in 5-6 years, that's what the norm is going to be. So I would go Okafor, but I mean it's really close to me. Like Ben said, probably about 55-45.
Dexter, your thoughts?
I got Okafor for the same reasons. Everybody kind of hit every point that I can make. But except for, I just think that it's a little bit easier to find point guards. And right now, I think that there are just more of them in the league. It's going to be easier to sign one of those than or a trade for one or draft one down the line or what. It just seems like there are more and more good, effective point guards coming to the league than ever. And so I think that it's going to be a little bit easier to pick someone who could play that position up down the road and just go with Okafor
Cutting
now.
out for anyone else?
Huh?
Harris, you just cut out for me. I was just wondering if that happened with anyone else.
Oh.
I heard him clearly.
Okay, never mind. My bad.
I
will say this. I'll just bring up this quick concern and wonder how concerned you guys are about it, because I wrote about this again in one piece, which was the question of, can you build a good defense around Randall and Okafor if those are your two front court players? And if you can't, then that severely limits the ceiling of what that team and that court can accomplish.
I think eventually you can. I mean, I don't see I don't think either player are so bad that you can't. Like, they aren't drafting the center or power forward version of Steve Nash. Like, they're able to do something with the guy, and he's big. Like, just teach the guy verticality. If Roy Hibbert can learn that, I can't imagine Jahlil Okafor can't.
Sorry, I just pictured a center Steve Nash and wondered what that would look like.
Essentially, what everyone thinks Towns is right now, apparently. But I think they hit the nail. I mean, Over's big. I mean, he's like 6'11" with a 7'5" wingspan. I mean, you teach him to put his arms up around the rim and sit there, and I mean, he makes stuff happen. Hopefully.
Yeah, someone tried to convince me that Okafor was a 4 yesterday. I'm like, no. I think Mark Heisler, a guy who covers the Lakers, said, the Lakers know that Okafor is not their next center. He's their next power forward. I was like, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
He was also saying Moutier would be the pick, on lottery night, at number 2.
Yeah. And I mean, Randall's also really mobile, so I mean, he could be the guy who blows up pick and rolls. I mean, he's not long. I mean, neither does he have T-Rex arms. I feel people kill. I mean, the guy who has T-Rex arms this draft is Jarrell Martin. He's 6'9" with a 6'9" wingspan. That's T-Rex arms. I mean.
The way people talk about Randall's arms, you'd think he had the arms of a toddler.
Yeah.
He was a completely normal sized power forward for the NBA, but he just had toddler arms.
Yeah,
I just weird. Keep picturing that Saturday Night Live skit with Kristen Wiig where she
as a quick aside, I think I pulled up LaMarcus Aldridge's shot chart on Shot Analytics. Aldridge shot 48% from the left corner, 38% from the left wing, 36% from the top of the key, and then it was 21% from the right wing and 14% from the right corner.
Keep him away from the right.
Yeah, so he got a lot. He did get a lot better.
That's crazy. That's insane. That's a huge one-year jump. That's Paul Millsap-esque.
Yeah.
I'd lean Okafor in the point that I'm not. I mean, we all kind of hinted at, or you guys all kind of hinted at, but Mark Cuban kind of said something really smart, and I'm going to roll with the billionaire genius guy. But when he signed Monte Ellis, and his reason, or the reason for that thinking was, I'm going to zig where everybody else is zagging, right? The entire league is going in this point guard and guard heavy and shrinking down direction, so why not be really, 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 really good at something nobody else is? And Okafor has the most polished post game I've seen since, I would say, Tim Duncan. Is that fair? Offensively. I'm not saying.
Well, I mean, coming out of college, he might be the most advanced post scorer we have seen. I mean, especially as a freshman. I mean, as a 19-year-old, have we ever seen a guy that was this good in the post? No. And going off what you were just saying, I think it is really smart because the reason the league is going away from post game is I think a lot of people have figured out it's not as efficient as they thought it was. But if you have a guy like Okafor, it absolutely is as efficient as you think it is. And he can get you consistent offense whenever you want it down the block. That's huge.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement here.
Yeah. I mean, if he's shooting 70% at the rim and kicking it out whenever he gets doubled to an open three-point shooter, I mean, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah,
see, isn't this fun? Don't you want an Okafor Randall front court so we can talk about these things?
I just think it's kind of hilarious that Anthony just used Monte Ellis as a justification for drafting Jahlil Okafor.
That's what you come to me for, guys. All right, so we're gonna round out this podcast tonight with a little game I like to play like to call sauces. We're gonna go from my left to right, or no, we'll start with Harrison. We're gonna start with Harrison because I haven't started with Harrison much all night. Harrison, we are about to go to bed tonight, and tomorrow is gonna be nuts, right? Can we all agree that tomorrow is gonna be just absolutely apeshit? Just rumors going all day, Woj tweets going, throughout the entire day. I'm gonna be stuck at a store. Just hold on, guys. I'm busy right now. So
part of me wants to just turn off Twitter and watch ESPN and watch Chris Broussard try and explain everything.
That'd be fun.
Oh God.
LeBron James. All right, so Harrison, what is the craziest rumor that you're going to go to bed tonight and wake up and see tomorrow, and let her rip?
The Kings are demanding Kobe Bryant and any DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh god.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Like Vladdy's just like calling reporters, being like, "We want Kobe." They're like trying to explain the no trade clause to him. He's like, "It's not up to him. We can trade for whoever we want."
What?
That'd be
Isn't
amazing.
there some artistic irony there that Vlade would request a trade for Kobe on draft day? Like that'd be phenomenal.
No, the
Yeah.
funniest tweet I saw about the DeMarcus thing so far was somebody said if Vladdy trades DeMarcus to the Lakers, it'll be his greatest assist since tapping out that rebound to Ori.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
Ooh. Ouch, man. I imagine those wounds are still open. It was lucky shot. Gary, what's the craziest thing you might wake up and hear tomorrow?
I don't think I can top what Harrison just threw out there, but
I think he won.
we're gonna get a tweet from Wojnarowski saying that the Kings and the Lakers are in trade discussions, but it's for Rudy Gay, not DeMarcus.
Oh.
Lakers trade the number 2 pick for Rudy Gay.
Exactly.
Oh,
They feel like this provides 5-time champion Kobe Bryant a good chance to contend.
Oh.
That absolutely would be the press release, and
It
I'd
would.
just like shut down my computer.
I would become a full-time Wolves fan if that happens.
yeah, I'd resign from everything Lakers at that point. I'd just say, yeah, I'm out. Ben, what's the craziest thing you think you might wake up to see tomorrow?
God, it has to be something with Hinkie. Yeah, I mean, like, Hinkie traded for insert crazy thing to try to move up to number 2 to get Russell or like something like that. I mean, it was, what crazy asset can we imagine that Hinkie would try to get with his massive stash of second-round picks in order to move up to get Russell? I mean, I there was a funny. I forgot who it was. I think it was Justin Russo actually joked that what if this is all just kind of a sideshow so Mitch can convince Hinkie to move up to take Russell. Hey, you might not be able to trade with me for the number 2 pick to get Russell if this trade happens, and the Kings will take him instead, and you're all screwed. So God knows. Maybe we'll get a report saying just to that effect that these Cousins trade stuff was all a sideshow, and Mitch was bullshitting the entire league and what have you. There you go.
All right, Tom, your crazy rumor that you might wake up and freak out about.
You know, I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna roll out of bed, probably pretty late since I don't have a job at the moment, and I'm just gonna roll over. I'm gonna open up my phone. I'm gonna get a text.
Tom, by the way.
Hashtag hire Tom. I'm gonna have a text from 40404, which is what Twitter sends out texts on, and it's gonna say @Woj NBA. The Lakers are packaging young players Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson to the Celtics for the number 16 pick and the services of Brad Stevens.
Oh,
Oh wow.
man.
I like Brad Stevens too.
That's not actually going to happen. That would just be.
And they aren't going to
Well, that's
fire
right.
Byron. They're just going to make him an assistant coach.
He's going to be the guy that teaches Okafor how to be a Laker.
Oh my God.
I would say the craziest rumor that I might wake up and hear tomorrow is, I'll get some Woj scoop because we all know how big a LeBron fan he is. We're gonna get a Woj scoop that LeBron and David Blatt are on vacation together and they're trying to figure out a way to make Kevin Love stay in Cleveland, and we'll all hug each other. We should have just ended on Harrison. Harrison,
Yeah.
damn it!
I mean,
If we had known that you were gonna kick ass on this game so greatly, like I would just.
Well, if you would give me more touches, you would know that I can kick ass with my opinions. But
Harrison with a 40 PER. That's crazy.
My theory is that you just didn't talk so much during this one, and you just had lots of time to think about it. And
I wasn't listening to you guys at all. I was
and
just
to plot his next murder.
Right.
There he goes.
All right. Well, I want to thank Ben and Tom for joining us tonight. There wasn't nearly as many fireworks as I thought we might have gotten out of that DeMarcus Cousins conversation, though.
You always expect fireworks with me, just because I disagree with people.
Man, see, like
He wants you to just lose it and cuss somebody out. Like, is that too much to ask?
You're fucking stupid, Ben. Jesus.
It's all right. Well,
I'm gonna make sure Drew fires you tomorrow.
He doesn't pay me, so whatever.
I'll make sure Sam fires you from Upside Motor too, even though I don't think either of us.
I don't even write for that anymore. Every now and then I'm like, hey, I want to write this thing, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess Lake Show Live or at Lake Show Live wasn't very impressed with my rumor. So here's a good rumor. I'll wake up tomorrow and tell a good joke. There's a good rumor.
Ha!
That'd be nuts.
That is funny.
There we go.
There we go. All right, guys. So I want to thank you guys again for joining us tonight. Thanks, Gary and Harrison, for also for giving your guys' 2 cents. Thank everybody for tuning in. This was by far the most viewers we've ever had for a live show.
How many did we get?
What's that?
How many did we get?
60.
Yeah!
Wow.
No, actually, yeah, that's good for live at 11
Like,
o'clock.
Live viewership.
What did we do? Quadruple our previous high?
Yeah, no, we that was way up there. We got to have. Turns out we got to have Harrison with a murder sheet behind him more often.
There we go.
Well, there's some interesting shit happening. People wanna listen to people talk about it.
Exactly. You guys.
Yeah,
Ben, you're more than welcome tomorrow to stop by. Apparently, I mean, I floated out the question today about whether or not people want to see us during the draft. I honestly didn't think people would want to. I thought they got enough talking heads during the NBA draft, but apparently we'll be recording live as the Lakers either take Jahlil Okafor, D'Angelo Russell, or just trade everybody away for DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah. But we'll be here to give our live reaction to any of that. So Ben, Tom, you guys are more than welcome to stop by. Gary, Harrison, I guess you guys are too.
Well, I'll be at the Lakers facility tomorrow, actually.
Well, that'd be awesome.
Even better, just bring your phone
from there and take a picture of it.
Yeah,
just call in and live, like FaceTime it from the phone. If you're like, I'm here, Mitch is right there. I don't know what he's doing.
Mitch, come get in a selfie with me.
Yeah. Mitch, we need you on the show right now. I know you might be busy right now, but come on.
Yeah. Mitch, can I get you in for a sideline interview? Jeannie, what do you think about the future of the franchise? Byron, what do you think about how these guys love to be Lakers? Oh God, I'm gonna ask all the pedantic questions that all the draft prospects got during their time coming up to draft. Oh, are you sure this guy wants to play with Kobe? What will be playing with Kobe like? Who's your favorite Laker? Oh my God.
Oh man, no, those Kobe questions make me throw up every time.
They're so bad.
So bad. All right. Well, all right. So yeah, again, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again sometime. And I'm going to find an actual topic that Ben and Tom actually send some fireworks across the interwebs at each other for. Maybe, Ben, are you not a fan of Arkham Knight?
I don't even have Arkham Knight yet. I'm still trying to play. I'm still trying to play Dragon Age Inquisition for the 8th time. So.
Yeah, see, he's too smart for us to get that angry at each other. That's a great game.
All right. Talk to everybody soon.
That was great.
Later.
See ya.